Album review. Today's album is Anarbor Anarbor. I'm joined today by Joe,
Hello.
Will,
Mahio.
Aidan,
Annabelle.
and myself, Denver. You know what else I've realised just before we get started in this album? This is pick number 97, and I was born in 97.
But what? No one cares about that. We're 3 away from 100.
So overall, I thought this album was pretty good. Like, it had 4 fucking great songs, in my opinion. Like, I could not pick a favourite out of, like, favourite 3 out of these 4 almost. Like, I kind of just picked 3 of them at random, in random order. They had a few okay, and then a few meh. Which kind of let it down, because I felt like all the best songs were at the very beginning. Pretty much. So, like, when listening to the album for the first time, I was like, fucking hell, this is going to be great. And then it kind of, like, I almost listened to the start of the album and think, oh, this is up there. And then by the time the end of the album, I'm like, this is good. You know, like, nothing amazing. So I thought it was a great start. And it had quite a funk type vibe throughout a lot of the songs, I thought, which was quite nice. A lot of songs are a nice length, like the album's not too long. There's only 10 songs. Each song's like 3 minutes, or at least in the ballpark of 3 minutes. So that was nice. Some of the songs also faded into each other, like where the end of one song was then the beginning of the next. But then also listening to them in random still worked, so it wasn't jarring if you had it on shuffle, for example, which happens in some other, say, artists that I can't think of right now.
Go on.
I was about to say 1975, but I don't think they actually did have any ones that faded perfect. You know, you get those songs where if you started it on shuffle, or at the end of it just abruptly stops.
Pierce the Veil.
Yeah, there was a Pierce of Air one that was pretty good. Kissable.
A few things
Very
I found out about the band Anarbor is they used to be called Troop 101.
Both
Why?
terrible band names.
No, they're not.
And also, the 17-year-old drummer killed himself. Oh no, 19-year-old drummer killed himself.
Which is what the song Who Cares is about.
Oh my fucking
So he's
God.
not.
Yikes.
Well, no, they had a drummer until 2016. Then I guess when they were touring this album in 2017, they had a drummer who then at the end of the tour killed himself.
Fuck.
So have they not done anything since?
Well, they haven't got another drummer. They couldn't find one.
Well, no, they've got another drummer now, but they've released some EPs recently, actually, which is the next thing they've done.
Oh, yeah? No way. Tell us about them.
I didn't listen to them because I was too busy listening to this. But it was, I think what means it must have been a good album was I was able to actually listen to, you know, often with album review, you like listen to an album and go back to your other stuff. I like listened to just this album for about 5 times in a row and didn't listen to anything else. The first time I was listening to it. To the point where I almost burnt myself out from it. Because I thought, those first listens, like, yes, I found a diamond in the rough here. And then the more I listened to it, I was like, I'm liking it less the more I'm listening to it here. I need to stop.
You need to stop.
I have that with a lot of music though. Like just like say I'm like casually listening to music. I'll have that a lot where I'll like listen to like this one song too much because I like it so much, and by the end I hate it, and then I'll like it again in a couple of months' time. You just stop listening to it for a while. You listen to it again. It's like, yeah, I like it again now, and then you burn yourself out again, and it goes in one big loop.
But I feel like there's maybe a direct correlation between that and playing video games and doing that as well, because you and Denver are both people that have just sat and continually played one game non-stop and have had negative repercussions from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like what?
You played the first Watch Dogs and now you can't think of that without having a migraine.
Yeah, because I had like I played that for like fucking 15 hours straight, and my head was killing me.
So all in all, I
It's
think
a
you
do
guys.
with Last of Us Part 2, and I still think that's great.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but I
you're
didn't
wrong.
get a headache when playing Last of Us Part 2 for that long. Did you get a headache?
No.
Exactly. So your point is just completely invalid.
Yeah, but you said you played the game for 15 hours straight. I played Last of Us
Yes.
15 hours straight, and I didn't
Yes,
get a headache.
but the correlation is that I got a migraine because I played it for 15 hours straight.
Maybe just Denver's just stronger willed
That's
than
what
you.
I'm getting at. Yeah, I'm stronger willed.
Yeah,
Possibly.
strongest will. Well, second.
Yes. Least favorite, Already Dead. Because it's slow, and I wasn't really a fan of the chorus because a lot of the songs have good choruses, and pretty good verses actually. A lot of the songs, but that Already Dead never seemed to pick up. So it just there was that and another song I didn't think was too great.
I'm interested to see what your top 3 is because I've disagreed with almost everything you've said so far.
I also have as well.
I'm kind of.
I don't understand how you can disagree with that. I don't think I've taken a hard stance on anything.
Except babies.
Mainly like you said, like the first bit. I'm not going to say anything. Just carry on.
Okay.
Not like hard disagreed, but like
Okay.
I've disagreed with the majority of what you've said.
Okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, this is what I mean. I'm like, oh god,
Okay,
what's
so
this?
yeah,
one?
Already Dead. Not a fan of.
Like, I think Already Dead wasn't slow. Like, it was definitely lower BPM. Like, it was a slower song, but like, it wasn't slower building or anything like that. It still flowed.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean by slower, like lower BPM.
And that's bad. That's just a bad quality for you in a song.
Yeah, unless the lyrics can help drive it. If the music isn't driving it, then the lyrics or the feel needs to drive it. And I feel like Already Dead didn't have any of that, especially compared to the other songs did.
There's not many slow songs on the album.
Also, Push Away wasn't that great, I didn't think. But it was kind of a nice finish, I guess, but it wasn't that great compared to some of the other. I think what didn't help this album, I guess, in some ways to me, was that there was 4 brilliant songs, and the rest just never got close to it. Like, to me, there was the best 4, and then, like, huge gap, and then the rest. So the one that actually missed out on not being missed out from being in my top 3.
Mention.
Yeah, honorable mention was Who Cares. No, actually, shit, it wasn't. Who Cares was in my top 3.
Spoiler.
It was which one was it? It was Can't Help It. Sorry.
That didn't make your top 3.
No.
I mean, it was the most famous one, and Denver
is the most famous one.
Denver be different, you
know. I feel like it was still great. Like I say, the top 4 could have almost changed randomly, but just when I was clicking through them, listening, I was like, I feel like I prefer the others to that one. So that was 4th. 3rd was Dopamine.
Fuck's sake.
I thought that was really funky, upbeat, and had a nice hook. 2nd was Who Cares, because it had a great main riff, and I liked how the drums built up into the chorus. Thought that was great. And my favourite was Freaking Out, because straight off the bat, it like hooks you in, and it was just great beat, it's really catchy, and like, I loved it. I loved, like, the second play in the album, and that started it, was great to me. And almost then, none of the songs ever quite lived up to that first song. I guess that's a lie, because I said all 4 of those were like equal, but because it was first, I think is why I put it up, because it like sets this great precedence for the rest of the album, which sadly the rest of the album doesn't quite fulfill, but a few of the songs do, and I thought Freaking Out was great. To the point where those 4 songs I did add to like my own songs, which is something I haven't done for a while on quite a few of these other albums. So yeah, overall, pretty good, but not sure if it's hurt by having standout songs, which make the others seem bad. Because it was definitely one of those, like, when I was trying to like come up with my score for this album, I was having some numbers in my head, but then I would like look back at previous albums I've rated, and I'm like, well, it was better than that album, but I guess like that album had more consistent of level of like goodness across the songs, whereas I felt like there was quite a disparity between the best and the worst. Not massive. Like, I'd say the worst songs were still okay, just not nearly as good as the top one.
Fuck me, we literally disagree on pretty much everything.
My God, I'm so interested.
Like, I think.
But yeah, that's my review.
Are you sure?
Go.
You want to change it now?
No.
Because although I agree with you that I thought the album was, pretty good, But I also put it was nothing special, but not really that bad in any sense. I think it lacked the passion that the last couple of albums have had.
Mhm.
I don't know if anyone else would agree with that, but like,
1000%.
whereas this one sort of like that. Like that being said, there was a certain consistency in the tone of this album, in my opinion. Apparently not on Denver's, that made it like quite easy to listen to. Where like the vast majority of the songs all sounded relatively similar, or at least had a similar feel. Never really pushed outside of its comfort zone. It was all just sort of in the same. It's in a boat, you know.
This is very similar to my notes.
The exclusion of that being the last song, in my opinion, which was the worst, "Push Away." What a downer of a song to end on. It was just boring, really. There wasn't really much to it. I didn't enjoy
Definitely
it.
a weird contrast from like the happiness and feel good that the rest of the album gives, and then suddenly you have this very emotional.
And like I think I would have been okay with it if it
Ending.
was in the middle of the album somewhere, but like because it finished it off, it always left a bit of a sour note.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, is that it? I said it would like go on to the next album and be like,
I was going to say, go on to their
yeah.
older albums, and like Denver pointed out that he was like, yeah, but you can't listen to this because it might sway your opinion on this album. And I feel like it absolutely did.
Because they're all like,
accidentally slipping into one or two songs on the next album really led me to be like, oh, fuck, like we could have been listening to this.
because their old stuff's a lot more pop punk.
Yeah.
They've definitely gone a bit more like towards the pop.
It's artsy.
It's very indie rock, is what I would
It's
put
like
it in.
super artsy kind of thing.
I almost think Freaking Out sounds like Catfish in the bottom end, you know?
Yeah, that's why I
Like,
said it.
big
Indie
time.
rock, like they're
Yeah.
very reminiscent of that.
Third favourite, Josie. I didn't actually expect to like this one as much as I did, but for some reason it always got stuck in my head. So I actually I enjoyed it. It's in my top three. Second favourite, Can't Help It. I thought it had a really great chorus hook with a lot more energy than a lot of the songs in the album have. And because of that, I feel like it stuck out to me. One thing to point out, though, I never really thought that any of the lyrics or anything particularly were captivating in any way, shape, or form. I found that a lot of them lacked any sort of meaning behind them. And although they probably had a lot more meaning than I would justifiably give them, I ended up thinking like, oh shit. It wasn't like Wombat's level of terrible writing, but it still wasn't good.
Having read
like
the lyrics,
generic.
I would attest that like they were just like words. Like
They were,
he's trying to get to a story here, and then the chorus would kick in, and then new verse, and you'd be like, well, did that say any message? I mean, for me, the lyrics don't really matter anyway. But like having read them, I can attest that they didn't really ever mean to anything.
Which is a shame because I really like when like something tells a story. Like,
Do you usually read the lyrics, Denver, on albums?
I have started to, yes.
Cool.
Because before he only used to watch the music video, and that swayed his opinion. But now he's actually looking into the songs.
This one did have music videos.
Did it? I'm surprised. Anarbor don't seem big enough to have music
There
videos.
was two, I think. I think Josie and I Can't Help It had them.
Oh, that's cute.
You'd be surprised, Aidan. You don't have to really be big to do music videos.
That's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. I mean, like, you at least have to be somewhat successful.
You really don't. Like, once you've got like a record.
Okay, now hang on a minute. All right, fine.
This was done independent.
Having a music video would imply that you're having some level of success.
Right. I guess so, but like, I know a band in Lincoln that they had like, I don't know, 1,000 music like listeners on Spotify a month or something, and they did really good videos like all the time. I mean, like, did you see the music video that do you remember the dude from college, the paintbrush guy, Morgan?
Yeah, I remember.
Like,
calling him out by name.
Yeah, he did a really good music video for his band. He's not really successful, I guess.
Oh, okay, so it sounds like any old cunt can make a music video, so clearly I'm wrong, and that anyone else that does it should probably stop because it's not actually helping anybody.
It is helping people.
It's not helping me.
At the
If
end of the
anyone's
day-
watching them videos, they're stupid.
At the end of the day,
They
people
help
like
me.
to watch. At the end of the day, people like to watch things, and that's why music videos
Yes.
always get
Yes,
more.
but people voted for the Nazis, Joe.
To be fair, it does put a visual to like something that you like already,
Well,
I
I
guess.
suppose if that's the kind of learner that you are, I'm quite introspective. I like to think about things. But if I'm watching people dance around and like spin, most of the time they're doing spins with a
It
guitar.
definitely helps for me.
Well, that's fine. I'm glad you're autistic and have come to that conclusion.
I like a bit of both, you know. Sometimes I like to just kind of think of it on myself. Like, fuck, I can't put this sentence together. Sometimes
Oh, you
I
see
like-
this graph behind me?
I see that graph. I can see it.
Fuck.
Sometimes I like to just imagine it, kind of. But then sometimes, like, if there's a really good music video, like it can definitely add to a song. Like I think
It's like-
Fall Out Boy were really good with that. With Save Rock and Roll, like all their music videos were great, and they all linked in together. That worked really
that
well.
was more like a weird movie, but I
It
thought
was. I loved
I
that.
thought you were going to bring it back round to when you were younger in the car, and whenever a song was on, you would like picture a man like running alongside the car, jumping over the obstacles. Or
I
is that
would, but
just-
then he like threw a brick through my window, and things changed. It was a
Did
pretty
that
aggressive.
actually happen?
Yeah, that was to a metal song.
Right.
But the thing is with Fall Out Boy, though, it was really shit because the music video story wasn't in order of the songs.
Bloody
Well-
Panic at Disco didn't they, between the albums?
Yeah, in the
Yeah,
wrong order
and-
as well.
No, well, yeah, I guess so.
But that was like a little easier because it's not like on and out. Like, so if you just watch that music video when the album came out, it's just like, oh, this is a cool music video. It wouldn't be like, what the fuck's happening, you know?
Yeah.
I guess it really doesn't have to be in the order of the album though, because like
Right, having watched them, it should have been.
Oh.
Because it was
Okay.
just a mess. Because, like, some of the music videos were just, like, running, even though, like, the song had nothing to do with running or whatever. Like, so it was just like, what the fuck is going on? And then
A
there
lot
was
of the
some with
time-
naked women in it.
yeah, but like a lot of the time, music videos have nothing to do with the actual song. It's more just to like they almost make it a completely separate thing, which I don't always like. But as long as it's got its own kind of character, I guess it doesn't take too much away from the song. Then it works.
I feel like music videos for the most part suck. I'm just throwing that right out there. It's pretty rare that I ever watch a music video and think, man, that was cool.
I like People by 1975's music video.
There's a
Yeah, that's really good
sometimes-
actually.
Sometimes I had, so like, you know, my old good old metal music. There was a metal song that I really liked, and it got ruined by a music video because, like, I didn't think it was that emo, and then I watched the music video, and I was like, this is very emo.
Because you realise they just start scream. That it's just him screaming.
It was a her actually, and it kind of just ruined
Oh.
the whole vibe of the song for me. You know.
I'm
Did you realise
surprised
you're an
you
emo?
feel that way, considering how metal is as a genre and how it is kind of embarrassing to like metal when if you're like either over the age of 13 or under the age of 45.
I would
Not
definitely
all.
disagree with that.
Not all metal. Not
Because-
all.
The vast majority of
Because a
metal.
lot of metal is very much matured now, and it's not like gothic emo. It's like
That's
it's
not what
very
I'm
much
saying.
mature.
I still just think it's kind of sad, isn't it?
I don't know. Have
Not
you
really,
seen
no.
Motionless in White's art?
If you like the
Like,
fucking
fuck
sound of it,
Motion.
you like the sound of it. It's not embarrassing.
It should be.
Never let anyone tell you that.
Yeah, to be fair, I'd agree with you on that, Joe.
I mean, I'm more of a I don't really like to listen when people drop pennies in plane engines, but that's pretty much the similar sound.
You could almost argue if you're above 30 and you're still doing like role play.
I really like that. That was a penny going into a plane engine. Denver's adding it to his resume of noises he can make with his mouth.
Fuck's sake. Along with the click.
Click, drip.
I've thrown off what I was saying now.
Probably one interesting.
Yeah, I probably wasn't that interesting.
What was your favourite, Aidan?
Who cares?
I care.
Nice.
Was it
So-
actually Who Cares?
Yeah, of course it was Who Cares. I thought it was a really standout song that switches up the style, and I think it caught me off guard. I really enjoyed it.
It's
The chords
pronounced
and
Who
stuff-
Cares?
The chords and stuff changed like drastically from all the other songs, and I was like, I liked it, enjoyed it.
I
That's
barely
good.
even noticed that song.
I kind of struggled to say a lot about this album. I thought it was quite like bog standard in how it was. It was good, but it wasn't. It was good, but it wasn't great, and it wasn't bad, but it you know what I mean.
Well, I'm going to carry on with my review straight away from what you've just said and
Because it
say that
worked.
it was just very underwhelming.
Oh,
Like-
nice. Let's kiss.
It's just way too safe. Do you know what I mean? Like it never really pushes any boundaries. There's just times where I'm like, this just sounds exactly the same to the last song. I feel like there's, to me, similar to Denver in saying there's like 4 standout songs, even though my 4 different songs are like almost completely different to Denver's. I just think like nothing really grabbed me because nothing really changes up that much other than like I say, the 4 songs definitely did stand out, but everything else was just kind of like meh and just like shit versions of these good songs.
Oof.
I know. I feel a bit like shit because like it seems like a nice, happy song. It looks clean, you know. Nothing's too long. Nothing's shit, but just nothing's great. And I just found like listening to the album a bit like fucking hell. Like there's just not really that much to this. It's just very underwhelming, and I don't know. It's easy to listen to. Don't get me wrong, because you kind of just forget it's on. But I feel like that's bad that you forget it's on because just nothing. I don't know, and I almost barely notice when a song has changed. It's just that's the kind of vibe I got from this entire album. But don't get the songs that were good, I did really enjoy, and I do think as a band as a whole, they definitely have like potential to do really good. I just don't think they tried too much on this album. Right? They definitely. Oh, that sounds like a dick move. Like they obviously tried, but I mean, like they didn't try to push.
Joe, get him. Joe, get him.
Like, they tried, Will.
Different things, you know.
Joe, you're angry at the moment. Go get him.
I feel like they got one system and then they fucking grinded the shit out of that entire system. A bit similar to the last album, except the last album had a lot more passion behind it, I feel, whereas this was just very...
Do you remember the Against the Current album that we did that was like super rinse and repeat and nothing changed?
Yes.
I think it's definitely got... that you can draw a fair few parallels from that to this.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, actually. It's just... Yeah. Like, the sound is nice, like, the general sound... And the lead singer is decent. It's just, but like nothing special. And to be honest, at certain times of the album, I actually didn't like his voice.
Oof.
In certain parts, like the majority of the time, I did like his voice, but there was like little bits where I just didn't like the way it sounded. For an example of that is actually Freaking Out, which isn't my worst, but I didn't like his voice in that at all. Like it felt like he pushed it. And it like just didn't go at all. I think it's more like 3/4 of the way through the song, or just after the chorus. But the worst for me for this reason was actually Dopamine. I hated the way he said Dopamine. It it grinded on me so much. Like
really,
I hated listening to it. I found it really cringe just the way he was saying it, and like it's
how did he say it? Well.
Dopamine. It's like that every fucking time, and it was just triggering me every time it was on. So by like, I probably listened to this album like 5 or 6 times. After the 3rd time, I just skipped it because it triggered me that much how he was saying dopamine.
Doing it again, well, this skipping of songs.
After the 3rd time, if I know how it feels after that 3rd, then I can skip it because it was just like annoying. I found it so annoying, and it was ruining the album. It was probably, if I kept listening to it, it would have kept putting the album down more than it probably deserved to be put down. Because that song alone was just pissing me off. Which is why it is.
I was going to say, I quite like it. Was nearly in my top 3.
I can understand why people like it. I think it's generally just because the way he said it was like triggering me, and it almost ruined the whole song. So it's just like my taste of how he was singing it, I guess. But I can understand why other people like it because generally the beat and like the funkiness to it is really nice.
Don't get me wrong, that song I liked. It was nearly on my top 3, but it took me a while. Like at first, I didn't like the way he said dopamine, which is why I kind of had like a speckle of hint that you were going to say that.
Yeah,
speckle of hint.
But I got used to it, and I
get that on a t-shirt.
Speckle of hint. That's all.
And don't get me wrong. It has stayed in my head, but for the fact that it's just annoying. Like, not because it's good, but like all I can think is like just him saying dopamine now. It's like
Dopamine.
haunting. It's really haunting. I hate it. So I'll go with my top 3, but I'll say the only other honourable mention for me really was Already Dead. I really liked it. Thought it was really nice. It was a bit of a change of pace in the album because I feel like everything else is just, like I say, very similar and just funky, but then nothing too much changes, whereas that kind of brings it down a bit, which is really nice. But I feel like the only really good part in the album is actually 3 songs in a row, which makes third for me Paint This Town. I think like the backing harmonies, this is one thing I wanted to say about the album in general and the band. The harmonies are really nice. I don't know if anybody else noticed that. Like the backing singers work really well with some of the songs that have got harmony in. And it for that whole reason, it proper brought out that song for me. Even though the harmonies that actually come in more towards the end, it proper brought that song out for me. But yeah, second for me was Josie or Josie. More so than anything, and I don't think I've ever had this with any song. The verses stood out more than the chorus. Like I thought the verses were really nice. Mainly just like the backing. It's just super happy, super nice. Again, some great harmonies in it. It's like the whistle thing all over again. With there's not like a whistle, but like the high pitchedness of like the backing singers to his voice worked really well. A bit similar to the last album where I put whatever my first was for that in the word alive. It was a bit similar. It felt very similar to that, in that the backing just grabbed me and made me enjoy the entire song. And don't get me wrong, the chorus was good, but I just felt like the verses were better, which I don't think I've ever had with any song where I felt like the verse was better than the chorus. Because usually the chorus is supposed to be the big like part that you like remember, but I remember the actual verses way more. And again, the backing just grabbed me. But number 1 is Can't Help It. I really feel like that stood out by far, and I can see exactly why it was like, is it their most listened to song or their like second most listened to song?
It's the most listened to, yeah.
They're mostly, yeah, I can understand why. And it actually turns out that I have heard that song before. I don't know how, but as soon as it came on, I recognized it. And I just think it had like the best hook. It was a proper bop. It was just really nice, and just everything else, nothing seems that developed musically. It's just all a bit basic, simple. Whereas that kind of just, it really, really does stand out. The verse is great. The melody's great. His voice is really nice in it. Works really well. Just everything about that song is really nice. Again, nothing amazing, but it stands out way more than anything else on that album, I felt. And just, I can completely understand why it was like the number 1. I'm not sure if they released it as a single before this album came out, but
maybe they did.
Because if they did,
They didn't.
did they not?
Maybe they did.
The 2 singles were Dopamine and Freaking Out.
Oh,
That's interesting. Because like, if the single was Can't Help It, then I would have been like, and I'd heard that single before this album came out. I feel like I would have hated this album more because nothing ever lived up to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, nothing ever lived up to the single that they released. Whereas, like, I guess if they'd released Freaking Out and Dopamine, I would have like much preferred it because of there being a lot more better songs in the album, if that makes sense. But yeah, as a whole, I just found it very meh, a bit just not very developed, and I prefer the older stuff that they've done, which is a lot more pop punky. Don't get me wrong, it's solid if you like just the same shit, same like time and time again. But for me, it was just very meh.
fuck.
I feel like I've explained myself pretty well there. It does sound like I'm shitting on them, but I'm not completely, because I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not like, it's just really underwhelming for me. Like, nothing ever really stood out.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's a strong okay.
It's a strong okay. It's just like when you've listened to all the other albums, I feel like we've listened to as well. This is another point. Like it's just nothing compared to some of the stuff we've listened to. It's unfair to almost rate these high when like you see bands that are really pushing themselves out there to do great, and they've actually made really good of that. Whereas these have not really pushed themselves too much. I felt. And
I just find that there was a lot of pressure for it to be good after the last.
I genuinely couldn't disagree with that more.
How so?
Okay, tell us why. Joe,
it doesn't. Every song they do doesn't have to be revolutionary. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking. They're using the instruments that they play in making the music. I don't think it doesn't have to be something absolutely extravagant. That just
sorry.
It doesn't have to be extravagant.
No, but it has to be fucking like it has to change up a bit, or else you just listen.
I don't think it stayed all the same. I think they really like they changed the pace quite a lot. They used like different instruments sometimes. It was cool.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it never really knocked for the same formula that they stuck to almost.
I guess the structure of the songs were all kind of just the same.
Well, that and just the way that they sort of played them.
Yeah, like the general feel of almost every song was exactly.
I would disagree.
That's what you're going to get from an album, though, isn't it? You're going to get like the genre of the album.
No, definitely not.
Not necessarily.
I made a parade like.
Yeah, but
they switch up things all the time.
Yeah, in every different album.
No, in each album. I feel like every album, for an album to be good, it needs differentiation, it needs contrast, it needs
definitely, and it has the slower pace songs, but the way that Mayday Parade structure their songs and how they all sounds pretty much all the same. It's just the pacing of them, and then you have the slower ballad song, and it's almost the same with this album.
Yeah, but
songs, you've got your slower songs, and then they just have the same kind of overall sound.
No,
it's like Bringing the Horizon, for example. They change their sound every album,
and almost every song.
Definitely not every song. I'd definitely say there's a few. I'd definitely say there's a few songs, especially in their newer album, which are just weird and out the blue. But
I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
In a roundabout way, like you're trying to say, not every album has to be groundbreaking, and I get that. But like, if we're generally rating stuff, like you have to kind of rate it in the general sense of like how, like actually, if you know albums have been made way better and have been pushing the boundaries of. There's a lot more passion behind them, and there's a lot more just oomph. I don't know. There's just more to it, and much more like artistic prowess. This was just very underdeveloped.
I feel like the problem is that's where comparison gets a bit broad. Because are you comparing it to every album that you've ever heard, or every album that's similar to this? Every album recently? Because I always find personally I compare them to the albums that we've done recently. Which is why I think it fell so flat. But if I put it in a broad scheme of albums that I would class as like artsy and a bit like, I would probably say this is better than like a couple of the 1975 albums. They don't have random talking halfway through.
You talk as if the last albums have been so good, but I wouldn't say they have been good.
Well, you haven't rated them good, and that's fine. But I have, and I did enjoy them, which is why this sort of fell a bit short.
For me, it's like. I'm not comparing it to Kaleo, but like there was just like if you put them side to side and you see how much like differentiation there is, how much like the lyrics are written so much better.
They're all the fucking same. They're all like airy background music.
No, they're not. But
then two.
I would argue they're not.
Well,
I would say other than
and the general lyrics are so much better.
How can you say that? You can't understand
the passion.
I actually looked up the lyrics to that song, and it's basically like just picking berries in the woods.
And almost like a test that they've put another language in their album is pretty fucking impressive. Like
that's impressive.
Well,
yes, that isn't impressive.
Can you speak two languages?
How is that impressive? That's just a Google Translate job.
And it's
I mean,
not
that is-
exactly
I mean, they are
groundbreaking.
Icelandic.
Exactly, that makes it not as good.
No, but the fact they've done a whole album in English.
Yeah, that's because everywhere's taught English.
Are you not impressed with the English side of it or the foreign side of it, or like what part aren't you? You know?
I think it's a different album.
You're right.
Yeah, I
it is-
get that, but I was just like more getting to the point of like the actual quality of it,
Yeah.
and like the difference in like you could see there was just a lot more in the Kaleo album, and just the general. I don't know. It just much more developed artistically than
Well,
this. It was
David
just-
once again showing he knows how to argue his point.
oh come on, man!
It's just a bit more, you know.
No, I did. Oh, fuck's
Sorry,
sake.
Joe. Please go on.
Joe. Just do your fucking review. It's just gonna.
I don't know whether
Maybe do your review not a million miles away from your microphone as well.
I'm literally right next to my microphone.
Why is it doing this then? This is so
I'm
weird.
literally right next.
It's literally right next to my microphone.
Okay,
Literally right next to your microphone.
just keep
I
talking.
couldn't be any closer.
You just keep talking. Just go.
Yep. Right. I don't know whether I'm going through a phase.
Fuck's sake.
Maybe a little
Look-
further away from your mic now. You're peeking out.
Fuck's sake.
Should I go back a bit?
I
Can I go forward a bit? Back a
don't
bit
know.
more?
Thanks, Joe. Anyway, ratings.
I
what-
don't know whether I'm going through a phase of loving music, but I fucking thought this was great.
Yes, Joe.
Like, I thought that for a Denver pick, I usually hate Denver picks, and I was digging with this from the get go.
Oh, I
Right,
see.
I was
right.
like-
Just before you say any more, I think
Yeah,
Will has fucking nailed it with the against the current analogy.
Yeah, well, good analogy.
Thanks, bro.
Because I think like with that, like against the currents, that album, like I liked all those songs, but yeah, and there was a couple of standouts, but they were kind of a similar feel, I guess, in some ways to like this album, which then makes sense why.
I would definitely agree with that, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
No, I just said that originally the Against the Current one was hashed out and uninspired, and it was almost like they said, now make songs.
Yeah, it's felt a bit the same.
No,
No.
but it's different. No, but it's different about. There's a substantial difference between making songs the same and making songs because you have to, so therefore you stick to the same formula. And I feel like that's the differentiation between Anarbor and the
Yeah, I guess so.
current album.
Yeah.
Like they probably did. This probably was their passion project, which is a shame. Try again.
Yeah, please. Sorry, Denver. Carry on with what you were saying.
Yeah, Denver, it's your review now.
So
Denver,
least favourite was, what was it, Joe?
God damn it. I would say on this album, there was a shame there was only 10 songs. I wanted more. By the end, I was like, shit. And Push Away was such like an unexpected emotional end. Like I thought, like most of the album before it had been so happy, like feel good, and then all of a sudden, emotional end. And I was like, no, I don't want to leave on this note. I want to fucking be pumped, and I wasn't. I was sad at the end. My least favorite was Through the Night, because it was the only song where like the hook, like the main hook of the song, didn't hook me.
Yeah, and it's
You know?
repetitive as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I was like, because like most of like all the other songs, I would like be fucking straight into this, banging. Yep, like the chorus would come up, I'd be like, yep, fucking super catchy chorus, and this one just didn't click straight away. I was like, oh, not much to it. At the start, I was like, I'm gonna hate his voice. Is another like Don Broco. I'm gonna hate his voice. It grew on me because it wasn't his accent's not like he's like got a good middle ground between, you know, like singers that can just sing and they don't really have an accent, and then you've got strong Don Broco. I feel like he's like a really good middle ground between that, you know, which grew on me, and I liked it. I liked the way the guitar sounds. I liked the way everything comes together. I liked it. My least favorite was Already Dead.
Hang on, I thought you said your least favorite was Through the Night.
I mean, my third favorite was Already Dead.
Ah.
I actually can't remember why I chose that song.
Brilliant. Joe Midwood, Note Master. Oh, fuck. Hang on, guys.
Because it had like that super chill like beat going all the way through it. And I just, like, Denver, did you say that was like your worst?
It was my least favorite, yeah.
Yeah, like I just felt like it had like the flow going through it, like that. I really liked it. It was one of the more. I actually found like I thought I was gonna like the really upbeat ones, but I found like I ended up liking the slower paced ones more.
Oh, fuck. You're so different and quirky.
I think I only like slow songs if they're heavily piano.
Yeah.
What the fuck? What?
I mean,
what?
That's a broad statement.
Like,
Have you heard Billie Eilish's new song?
I think I have briefly.
She's got a new song.
Yeah, I
Did she
really
just
like
stop
it.
already?
But I don't think Denver would like it because it's very slow.
I don't like slow songs unless it's like very, I was gonna say acoustic then, very just like piano.
I agree. Acoustic.
so I thought you'd be the opposite because that seems more boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
it's like if you've got slow pace but with like the good instruments, it's like, okay, just play them with a bit more energy, you know, not so slow. Whereas when it's piano, it's kind of like just stripped back and it's slow. It's kind of like the piano gives it more like aura. And I feel like I prefer it. Whereas when you're just playing a song but slowly, I'm just like, come on, just speed it up. Come on, give it a bit more drive.
You should hear him listening to like 500 miles.
Now, here's the
Fucking
thing.
wild. I would want 500 miles.
I don't know if you guys would be interested in this, but this is like my kind of mindset when it comes to like making songs, or it has recently anyway. And like, so if I'm doing like a slow song, right, it's got to be around that 3 minute mark, right? Three to 3.5 minute mark.
Classic song, like.
Because you don't want it to be like too boring, and you don't want it to drag on forever. So like over 4 minutes for a slow song for me is like no. But if I'm doing like a really like heavy song, and I know don't make a joke about this because I can already see what you're gonna say. But like if I'm doing like a heavy song, like a really heavy thrash out banger, it needs to be short because that amount of energy can only be interesting for so long.
Yeah, like 3 seconds.
God damn it.
Yeah, you
It's
probably
not actually, to be fair, how long does it take for the singer to come in? Usually that amount of time.
So like the latest metal song that I've done like ends at like 2 minutes 40. Like it's a really short song, but any more than that would be too much because it's just like, well, right, this has just been heavy for so long. There's no quiet sections. So unless you're going to put like a quiet section in a heavy song, you'll find that they're all usually quite short.
metal definitely falls under the case of less is more because the less of it, the better, right?
The shorter the song, the better. Yeah. I knew this was coming. The minute I said it, I was like, I'm dropping the hook in. They're gonna fucking die. Right, there you go. You're all on the line now.
All right.
Fuck metal music, eh?
Sorry, Joe. I know what you're trying to say.
My second favorite was "Can't Help It," because yeah, fucking great song. Just you. It's just your right. And it's kind of spoiler, but here's a theory that I want to test out. Right.
Okay.
And I don't want to go off like because you could quite easily look back, but I think, and I found this personally, that my favorite songs and albums are most likely the fourth song on the album.
This is a bit of a bold claim that you're making.
Because most albums that I listen to, I'm always ready for the fourth song. The fourth song is always like the big one.
That's interesting because "Can't Help It" isn't the fourth song.
Well,
That wasn't his favourite.
It's my second favorite, Will.
God, are you even listening, Will?
No, not really, to be honest.
And my favorite is Josie.
Okay, Joe, let me just give you a little bit breakdown. So your favourite song on the last album was not the fourth song.
No, this is what I knew you'd go back and.
What about the song before that?
Like Like I'm telling you, like there's like Panic at the Disco, Death of a Bachelor, fourth song is the best. This the
It
fourth
wasn't
song's
for the song before either.
Oh, what about the one before that?
Vanna's album. That was the fourth. Just trust me.
Joe,
Was
if
the-
I were you, I would have said like
Was
more
Apparition?
quarter-
Joe?
Yes,
Wait.
Apparition was the
It
fourth.
was. We did it, boys.
It was only like a couple of albums ago. You see, on
Third
average.
time's the
And to be
charm,
fair to
baby.
him, though, on the other
Yeah.
albums, it was the third song. So it is in that ballpark.
Yeah. Like I always find that the best song or the banger song on the album is always at least in that top four. Anyway, we'll say that instead.
like a quarter of the way of the album, almost.
It's never at the end. Well, it can be sometimes, but most likely the best song on the album is in that like top four.
Yeah, Joe, I'll be honest, Joe. All songs are beautiful in their own right, and you claiming that only the fourth one is the best really upsets me.
I see. You wanna debate about that?
Yeah, I do. I believe that all songs are great, including metal music,
Well,
because you all need something to kick children to.
Okay, so the Attack
Okay,
Attack
Google.
album, Joe picked
Sorry.
Miles Away as his favourite, which was song 8.
Oh,
I mean, multiple of 4.
We'll go with it.
We'll go with it.
But to be fair to Joe, that means he's right about his theory, for at least for him, for the last 6 picks.
In which case, that just means that it's almost an unfair bias that he's going to pick one of those, meaning that he's not taking it seriously and we should kick him out of the group.
I almost feel like, from now on, he's just going to pick the fourth, even if it's shit.
I'm definitely not. I'm always going to be like,
Joe, if the fourth song
I'm
in the next album is your favourite, I'm nailing your feet to the floor.
I'm fucking right now.
Another nail for the coffin.
1,000 stories.
When in Rome.
Right.
Is it 9:51?
My first favorite was Josie. My favorite was Josie. Just fucking loved that song.
It's a good song.
It was really sweet. It was slower, and it was just, I don't know, it had the best like kind of rhythm and hook for me.
Again, the verses were so much better than the chorus, but the
think-
chorus was still good.
I wouldn't ever say that the verses are better than the chorus. I think the chorus still had like the hook type of thing.
I don't get me
But
wrong, I still liked it. It's just something about the verses for that song really
Like-
pulled me in.
Usually you'd be like, oh, the verses are just the worst part of the song. You're just waiting for the chorus again.
Mm-hmm.
But like in this song, it was just like, for a lot of this album, actually, it was like the verses actually just really helped the song stand out, I think.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's my review. Really, really great album. I enjoyed it.
Huh.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, bro.
Ratings.
Yeah.
7.5.
5.5.
5.
7.5.
Wow, you guys thought it could be a 30, really? Even after Denver didn't really hype it up that much?
Definitely. I was like,
No,
definitely.
you did, definitely, but Denver didn't. That's what I'm saying.
I thought
Denver saw-
I said it had 4 great songs on it.
What, you reckon 4 great songs warrants it being a 30?
Well, none of the previous albums had any great songs on them.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that you're wrong. Sorry. What did it get?
It gets 25.5.
That's still not bad. That's pretty. That's
It's a
bang out.
solid score.
That's
It's
bang
just
out. Yeah,
nothing amazing, which is pretty representative of the album. You know?
bang out. I agree.
Every time I started listening to it, I was like, this is an 8.
Really?
Or
And every time
8.5.
you
Because I
end-
loved the first 3 songs so much more than most of the rest.
That's fair.
So always when I started listening to it, and then by the end, I'm like, 7.5 kind of thing. And I was like, well, it has got 4 songs which I've added to my own playlist now. So I was like, 7.
To be fair, I'm going to add probably my top 3 to the 2020 playlist. It has made it on there.
Wow.
I just think freaking out.
Next album.
I was going to say, what do you think from the next album's going to get in there, Joe?
I'm
Well-
just going to pick the 4th song on the album as my favourite already.
Yeah, same.
So the album we're going to do next is an album that I came across while listening to Monomania. And it went straight on to this after I'd finished one of the albums. The album is a band called Dayseeker, and the album is called Sleep Talk. We're gonna do that.
Oh, I do know them though.
Yeah, I think I might know these actually.
Do you actually?
Is this the album with Drunk on it?
If I
'Cause that's
say
one of my
that, will
favourite
you
songs.
not pick them?
Daisy.
Oh, it is the album with Drunk on it. I know this.
Wait, you know this?
Do you actually? Okay then.
No one listened to my pre-joke build-up, so it fell flat.
Yeah, sorry, bro.
I'm excited.
Which one are we doing? Which album?
Sleep Talk.
I like the album, Matt. I can
Yeah,
say that
it's really,
much,
it's
yeah.
kind of
That's
cool.
really
Isn't it?
nice. Yeah.
It's like a gamer setup if a gamer setup was a bath.
This isn't actively metal. It's a bit like Monomania in that sense.
Cool. Well, I'm
Mm.
excited because that's sort of like I quite like that kind of music, where like the singing's still powerful, but like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean, Joe?
Right,
Joe?
I feel like
Just-
we're having.
prepare for a song called Burial Plot. Just prepare
Why?
for that one.
No.
Don't say that. You've already swayed my opinion on something. Fuck.
Any closing thoughts, Joe?
I actually had facts thingies, but I've lost them.